Vem är du?
Jag är döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv.
One of the greatest films of all time, The Seventh Seal, written and directed by Ignmar Bergman in 1957, tells the story of a medieval knight traveling through a plague-ridden land. He encounters death and, resisting its call, offers to play chess in exchange for more time. Until he doesn't lose, at least, he can continue on living. Finally standing face to face with his own mortality, he takes this opportunity to make one final attempt to find an answer to life's greatest question. What is the meaning of it all? And is there a God?
Vad väntar du på?
Jag vill ha vetskap.
Du vill ha garanti.
Kalla det vad du vill.
But of course, the answer that he is looking for has never been found.
Jag vill ha vetskap. Inte tro, inte antaganden, utan vetskap. Jag vill att Gud räcker med sin hand, avtäcker sitt ansikte och talar till mig.
Men han tiger.
Jag ropar till honom i mörkret. Men ibland är det som det inte fanns någon där.
Det kanske inte finns någon där.
Men då är levandet en orimlig fasa. Ingen människa kan leva med döden för ögonen och vetskapen om alltings intighet.
The horror that our protagonist is describing is what the philosopher Albert Camus termed the absurd. As Camus put it, man stands face to face with the irrational. He feels within him his longing for happiness and for reason. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. In other words, we seek to lead a meaningful life, follow a reasonable path, and yet the world just doesn't turn our way. Our plans get constantly struck down by a life that does not care about our desires. This tension is the absurd. One way to overcome it is accepting religion. The belief that nonetheless all is part of an overarching meaningful plan, even if we can't fully understand it. To Camus, this means accepting an illusion, and in the film we see the evil that this illusion leads to, like people willing to mutilate their own bodies in repentance, thinking that the plague is a sign of God's wrath, and a town dehumanizing, torturing, and finally executing a young girl, believing that the Black Death stemmed from the devil inside of her.
Vi måste göra oss ett belet av vår rädsla. Och det belätet ska vi kalla för Gud.
Like our protagonist, a disillusioned knight who has fought in the Crusades, his cynical squire is suspicious of how the priests use society's fears to fuel their own power and influence over it.
Varför håller du på med sådana klotterier?
Jag tänkte man skulle påminna folk om det faktum att de ska dö.
Gör väl inte glada då?
Varför i helvete ska man alltid göra folk glada? Man kan ju skrämma dem lite ibland.
Då blundar de och tittar inte på din tavla.
Du kan tro de tittar. En dödskalle är mycket intressantare än ett naket fruntimmer.
Ja, när du skrämmer dem.
Ja, de tänker de.
De tänker.
De blir ändå räddare.
Kila galopp i fem på prästerna.
Rather than fall into the arms of the priests, the squire opts to accept the absurdity of life. As a young girl burns on the stake for sins that she couldn't have possibly committed, he asks,
Du svarar inte på min fråga. Vem tar hand om det där barnet? Är det änglarna eller Gud eller Satan eller bara tomheten? Tomheten, herre?
Det kan inte vara så.
Se på hennes ögon. Hennes stackars medvetande håller på att göra en upptäckt. Tomheten under månen.
Nej.
Vi står maktlösa med hängande armar. För vi ser det hon ser. Vår skräck och hennes är densamma.
According to Camus, this is the answer, accepting our helplessness and the emptiness of life, but with no despair. Whoever manages to achieve this, he calls the absurd hero. Such a person would stop the never-ending conquest of a supposed capital letter meaning and simply enjoy their life amidst the absurdity. What they would do is freely decide how to lead their life and consequently craft their own little meaning. But given the horrors of life and the supposed meaninglessness of it, how could we not succumb to despair? One answer is to look on life through the lens of humor.
Visa den vägen.
Inte precis.
Vad sa han?
Ingenting just.
Var han stum?
Nej, det kan man inte säga. Jag skulle snarare vilja påstå att han var högeligen vältalig.
Or perhaps we can look at life like an artist and cherish the moments of beauty so that they will encourage us in moments of terror.
Stillheten är skymningen. Skål med smultron. Skål med mjölk. Era ansikten i kvällsljuset. Jag ska försöka komma ihåg vad vi talat om. Och jag ska bära det här minnet mellan mina händer. Lika försiktigt som vore det en skål breddfylld med nymjölkad mjölk.
And all the while do our best to have fun. But what if Camus is wrong and our despair is mistaken? What if nonetheless there is a God or a meaning to be found? According to Sören Kierkegaard, this question is a trap. Reason will never take us to an answer. There's always doubt and the possibility of error. Rather, he advises a leap of faith, a decision that there's a God and we should live in accordance with his plan, or a decision that there's no God and live in accordance with our own plan. On the end of the day, he says, life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. Or as Ludwig Wittgenstein, deeply influenced by Kierkegaard's philosophy, would put it, the riddle does not exist. The solution of the problem of life is seen in the vanishing of this problem. Is not this the reason why man, to whom after long doubting the sense of life became clear, could not then say wherein this sense consisted?
När vi möts nästa gång i din och dina följeslagares tid, ute.
Och du uppenbarar dina hemligheter.
Jag bär inte på några hemligheter.
Så du vet ingenting?
Jag är ovetande.
So, when the final hour does strike, there is nothing to be learned, no great revelation, but a simple end to life. Once more, our protagonist turns to despair, but not his choir.
Gud, du som finns någonstans, som måste finnas någonstans. Var förbarmande med oss.
Nej, kunde fått en ört att laxera ut dina evighetsbesvär. Nu tycks det vara för sent. Men känn i alla fall den sista minuten, den oerhörda triumfen att rulla med ögonen och röra på tårna. Tyst, tyst. Jag ska vara tyst. Men under protest.
And so it ends with no mystery being solved, for there never was one. To end on another quote by Kierkegaard, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. We can only tread blindly. We don't know where we're going and why, but while we're on the way there, we better make the best out of our journey. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing for similar content in the future, and that does help me a lot in making future videos. If you have Letterboxd, also feel free to follow my shorter reviews over there. I wish you all a nice day.